Hey guys, welcome to the Recreational Bodybuilding Podcast, episode 3. You've got myself, Brett Freeman. On the other side, we've got the bearded man, Jack Rayner. Today, however, we are joined by another bearded man, Mr. Steve Hall. So Steve Hall is for those who don't know, probably the one person, the founder and coach at Revive Stronger. Probably a better podcast host than myself or Jack with the Revive Stronger podcast, natural bodybuilder, and is currently prepping for, is it your third season, Steve?
Yes, it'll be my third season. Yeah, it will be.
Awesome. Anything else that the listeners should know about you? I've given a brief introduction, but anything else that I've missed that you think's worth knowing?
Just that I'm probably a shite podcast host.
Yeah, your reputation clearly says that.
Can we also get rid of the fact that you said that he has a beard, because
It's
Steve
kind
had
of
a
gone.
wonderful beard and then he chopped it off.
You've got
I'm
to
showing
compare
off
it to
my
mine,
lean
though.
face.
Are you trying to grow yours or?
Me?
Yeah. No. Okay,
No.
cool.
It would take me about 12 years to get to Steve's level. So to get to something like yours, Jack, would be at least 30 years.
Mine's chopped now. I used to have, I had it quite out here, but yeah, barber's chopped it. So
No, I've got no
anyway.
chance. Yes. On the more important topic. So, so today we're actually going to be talking about a bit of a different sort of subject, because I think all three of us are in, I think, what we'd call long-term relationships. And I think what's quite interesting is anyone who is chasing a physique goal ultimately has to be a bit selfish with that. And sometimes that can be at a cost of sort of those relationships with our significant other. And Steve, I know you've gone through sort of the competitive seasons a few times, and you've been with your girlfriend through most of those, if not all of them, I believe.
All of them, yeah.
I think what would be really cool to sort of understand is when you went through your first, or when you first got with is it Charlotte? Is that correct? When you first got with Charlotte, sort of how was that conversation or that approach with trying to balance pursuing this amazing physique and even going through the competition to balancing that relationship?
Cool. So yeah, my contest prep first one couldn't have come at a worse time, really, because it was literally just as we were getting together, I was starting that contest prep. I say that although I was a little bit chubby, so having lost some of those first initial like 10 pounds, I looked much better. Like the face starts coming in, and I know she liked me after I'd lost a bit more weight, so she kind of came on to me at that time, or rather I was putting on her. But we got together into that first prep, but I was already the way we met was at work, so it was already, I was like the bodybuilding dude who brings in his own food and his Tupperware, blah blah blah. So that kind of already, that conversation never really needed to happen, that it was something that was big in my life and that I did. So it wasn't like it was news to her, but the actual contest prep and what that involves was new to me, and I did not know as much as I know now, and I don't think I even knew anywhere near as what you two both know about it, even though neither of you have taken it to stage yet. I think you both probably actually are more aware of what it involved than what I realized at the time. So like the emotions I went through, I was very ignorant to it and didn't even pick up on it at the time. And I think Jack will probably find this the first time he competes now, and probably only in hindsight do you realize sometimes how moody you were and how low in energy and how selfish you can become. But I didn't even kind of have any of that. So going into it, it was like, I just didn't know what to expect. So initially it was like not a problem. I call it, actually, I guess it's the diet honeymoon phase. That was like our honeymoon phase. It was kind of like they were in sync. So it was totally cool, totally fine. It actually worked really well because I was still on plenty of food. I could be plenty flexible with my diet. At the time I had a coach and he was using me. We were using flexible dieting. So it wasn't like I couldn't eat out and kind of guesstimate macros and things like this. So that worked really smoothly. It wasn't until I was in like the digging phase of prep where I was extremely tired. I had like no energy for her. And at the time she was in London, I was living at home in Harpenden. And so I'd have to commute in to come see her. And I can remember times I'd come in and kind of just doing that commute, which is a piss easy commute from Harpenden to flipping London. It was like half an hour on the train and then like a few kind of 15 minutes on the tube. But I can remember it being like torture almost, it being horrible, like walking through, seeing people, and like I'd get there, and if she wasn't there within like half an hour, I'd just start getting really pissed off and be like, she's taking me, like taking the piss. I'd like just get really frustrated, and you just become very, very selfish. And contest prep and losing that much fat is a selfish endeavor. So I think those are some of the things I just didn't realize would happen. And also I had no idea, although I did, but I didn't really think about it at the time, how it would impact like libido and things. So it wasn't like I was thinking, oh, I've got no libido. I didn't even think about it. It just went. So that part of our relationship, of which was kind of prominent at the start when we were first going out together, just completely dwindled. And I was not interested in the slightest. I was just food, porn, that was about it. Not thinking about her in any way, sense or form. And that lost like intimacy, and that took a while to recover after the show even. So there were even times, she said there was a time where she was questioning the relationship and whether or not she'd want to stay with me. She was moving flat in London and I did not offer to help, and I sent her like a photo of me eating some like low calorie popcorn, watching a film and having a Pepsi Max, and be like, oh, it's so nice to put my feet up or something like this. And she just apparently was raging like nothing else, and I was oblivious to it until after the prep. So yeah, I don't know if I've actually answered your question in any way, shape or form, but it was a bad experience for her and for me. And I didn't realize how bad it was for us until after the prep. And as she started kind of telling me how it was. So then I can jump into my second prep, in which I made sure I was very aware of what was happening. And the biggest thing I did was make sure that I was set up for a kind of easier ride, in that I was coming down. I had over 30 pounds to lose in one go. I didn't have any diet breaks. There were no maintenance periods. It was a few refeeds here and there, but nothing like what I did in 2017, where I only had 15 pounds to lose. And then I had diet breaks every 4 weeks. It was such a breeze. I was a completely different person in that prep compared to the other one. And I had all the awareness as well. So I think even she would say it was night and day difference between the two. And she was very nervous about me competing ever again, and really doesn't like prep. But now she's not so worried about it and realizes it's something that's important to me. And it kind of just comes with the package now. It's like comes with Steve. So she hasn't got much of a choice. But yeah, it certainly was something I didn't take lightly going into my second prep. I didn't want to ever do anything that would take away from the relationship like it did the first time.
Yeah. No, that's really cool insight. And I'd sort of be interested, Jack, sort of your approach and how have you managed it up front with your wife? Sort of, I guess you know what's to come. Have you had that conversation up front around sort of the potential things down the line? How have you managed sort of that in this early stages?
So first and foremost, it's very weird you calling her my wife, but honestly, I just couldn't give a fuck about her. I'm just gonna do my shit, and then she's just gonna have to kind of deal with it. But no, I think you're right, Steve. With the kind of, it's almost weird that I've already gone through two kind of contest preps. If that makes sense. I've already got very, very lean before, and I was quite similar to Steve, where you're quite oblivious to the fact that it's very selfish. You don't. I remember certain situations where, which is funny. You mentioned a move, Steve. We were moving her sister, or meant to be moving her sister, down to London, and it's a very similar situation where I just said, "Nah, look, no, absolutely not." But yeah, no, this prep, as it were, or is a prep, is a lot different in the fact that I've basically, well, she's actually one that kind of recommended it, in the fact that I was looking for a photo shoot or to do a photo shoot of some sort, just because I haven't really got anything in the business side of things that kind of like sells myself as it were. I've just got like really crappy selfies, if that makes sense. So I was looking for a photo shoot, and she said, well, like, do you think it would be a good idea for you to do a contest prep, considering that's what you want to do kind of in the future, is prep some people to stage. So it's actually her idea. So I feel like if you speak to your partner or speak to your wife, etc., and just establish what's going to happen and establish how things may be different from diet to diet, I think you should be okay. But yeah, it's definitely a selfish endeavor. A normal fat loss phase, I think that you can be very flexible with it, and maybe that's the difference between, it is the difference between a contest prep and just a normal kind of fat loss phase. Like a mini cut will be very, very different. You can have kind of, as it were, multiple kind of fuck ups. Whereas as a contest prep, you've got to be fairly on it. So at some stage you're going to have to say no to some things, but I think if you have just a conversation, and she'll maybe understand why you have to say no to some things. But
yeah, agree. I think perhaps I'm the Gen Pop guy here with regards to trying to lose a bit of fat, because that's sort of the stage I'm in, and I've sort of found that obviously you've got the goal of losing a certain amount of fat, but when you don't have a contest prep, your timeline's very flexible, right? So I think what I've realized is I need to be willing to compromise maybe losing a pound of fat in the grand scheme of things, or dieting for an extra week in order to facilitate going on an unplanned date night or going away for a weekend and things like that, and sort of understanding that, yes, you could diet through that, and definitely if you're dedicated and you're committed, there's ways to do that. But equally, if you're really wanting to enjoy the experience, what's the impact? You have to diet for half a week more. And I think in the past, the mistake I've made is being so strict and almost treating myself like I'm on a contest prep, when that's never been my goal. And so just going with this all or nothing mindset, I flip the switch, I'm in diet mode now. So no matter where we eat, I've got to get the leanest thing. I can't really, if we go to the cinema, there's no way I'm getting popcorn. I'm gonna have to bring my own microwave in this weird lunch bag. And it's just it does take away from the experience. And it's sort of, I think what people don't realize is you doing that, and it's great to do that and be proactive and choose healthier options when you go out. But when you have a partner or a significant other that probably isn't into fitness, doesn't really lift that much, and doesn't really care, it can sort of make them feel bad if you're the person who is always choosing healthier options, but they just want to go out and have a nice time. I think that's something that perhaps people overlook when just sort of going through a diet phase, and especially with a partner who perhaps isn't really into fitness anyway, and doesn't really as blunt as it sounds, doesn't really care too much. They just want to spend time with you. They don't really care what you look like, or because that's not why they're with you in the first place. It's just a case of they want to spend time with you. I'm not too sure if either of you have sort of gone through that, or how your partners are with regards to fitness and sort of their feedback that perhaps they've given during times like that.
Yeah, it was just Steve puts up pictures of dumbbells around the house. We've had that conversation before.
What do you mean I put pictures up of so yeah, with Charlotte, she's as interested as to listen to me, basically. That's her. She has a fair amount of knowledge, considering she just listens to my stories and listens to me talk, but she has zero interest in it, really. She doesn't train, she doesn't track macros, she has sparingly used my fitness pal, so she is completely not into it, basically. If she wasn't with me, she would have almost zero interest, apart from she's interested in being vegan, vegetarian. Mm-hmm. That's about as far as it goes. But in terms of everything else, not. In fact, she used to go to the gym before we got together, and I think I've ended up kind of doing enough for both of us or something. So she doesn't even do any of this. So yeah, she can be as kind of out there as it were. But in regards to, her understanding kind of my choices and what I do, I think once you're at a point where you are in a long-term relationship with someone, that kind of feeling of uncomfortableness and, I don't know, you taking your own popcorn or something, I think they just end up not caring. They're just like, that's like, you do you. It doesn't even become a thing for them. But I think in the start of a relationship, that can be a tricky one, because you don't want to be going all in, being super strict, doing all these things and coming across as a bit of a weirdo, and they just don't get it yet. And whilst it's nice to think they should just get it and they should just be comfortable with it from the get-go, it's just not realistic. So I think you can kind of slowly taper them in and taper yourself in, and once then you're in a long-term relationship with them, they're just like your best friend, right? So they could take you for whatever. And if you can lock them in early like Jack, then you've locked them in before a contest prep, so they can't get out.
Exactly. I did it like 8 months before before the comp prep, so there's a lot of papers you got to sign before you get rid.
I was going to say, divorce is still on the table, man. Don't speak too soon.
Oh God.
But yeah, I agree. I've had to. I think for me, it's sort of been a case of compromising over the time, and sort of not saying, even though it's about them helping them understand, it's still always been a case of compromising and almost over communication about the decisions that you're making. So like when you plan to, what I found is when we plan to go out somewhere is, I'm like, okay, if we're going to go out, I'm going to make sure that I eat this, or basically this means that we probably can't go out again this week because I'm still on this diet phase. I still have to maintain some sort of control over it, and usually that's okay. Like I think once you explain it and once you sort of give a little, then more I found is it's a lot easier to maintain that relationship rather than just being like, no, it's me. You have to constantly work around me, and it's sort of you just start to clash straight away, I found.
Yeah, I was lucky enough that Nat actually introduced me to the gym. I think I spoke about this before, but Nat actually introduced me to the gym. So yeah, it's quite similar to Steve. I've kind of taken over. I've taken the reins, and now I program her. But in reference to the pictures around the house, we spoke a while ago, Steve, about the study where you just look at dumbbells and
right, yeah.
hypertrophy.
Such a not badge. Yep. She looks at my Instagram feed enough and sees me lifting, so maybe that's enough. She's probably got her newbie like visual gains.
On a completely like irrelevant question, do you find it weird when your partner looks at your stories and it's your voice? Is that creepy?
Yes. I'm like,
I think I used to. I'm so used to it now, though.
I find that so weird. I'm like, switch that knob off.
every time she's like, oh, like she'll do it right, and she'll because she knows it annoys me when she'll turn up the volume and she'll have it, and she's like, oh, why do you keep saying like certain words like or like and she's like, and it's just like, oh, turn that voice off. It's so like I still find it so cringy hearing myself, and she'll do it just to irritate me sometimes. It's yeah, and I'm sure yours is used to it by now, though, Steve.
Yeah, I don't know. I just get used to it. I think I hear myself so often, I just it's kind of numb me to it. But no, I do agree. I did find it like horrendous at first, and I still do find it a bit weird that she watches it. Even thinking that like my family watch it, and like I haven't spoken to them in like a few weeks, but they've watched my story every day or something. It's like, this is weird.
For sure. And then maybe sort of taking a different direction away from, I guess, a dieting phase, in sort of what you call your off season. So for many people looking to build muscle, that's just the day to day for them. How do you find navigating, planning your training and still sort of planning your diet around spending time with your significant other or your partner, and planning around their day to day as well, especially when you're both off, and making sure that you optimize spending time both with them and still getting sort of your training and your nutrition in. How have you found that, Steve?
This is a very good question. It's something I need to get better at. I know I need to, because I'm not the best at it, and Charlotte would say that straight away. So things like it's worsened by the fact that I am also self-employed. So even going on holidays, like more than a week at a time is like, for me, that's like a no-go for being self-employed, and missing client check-ins for 2 weeks or trying to do them on holiday. It's just not something that I'm like happy to do. I did it when I had very few clients, really at the beginning, but now the business and we have like multiple things going on and I'm wearing so many hats, it's just way too stressful for me to take like 2 weeks off. So that's something I wish I could, and I feel really bad like saying that I can't take that time. But even getting me to find it, like for her to just pin me down for a week off, I'm like, well, can we do it here because it's a deload week? And something I'm trying to be better at is like almost like I pre-plan my mesocycles, pre-planning like, and tell her this is when I want us to do a holiday. You free that week or like this other week, because it's a week every like month basically, isn't it, that you're in a deload. So if you can plan it for that, that's ideal. And because I guess I'm a competitive bodybuilder, I do take this very seriously, probably a little bit too seriously at times, that I'm not the best with that. But if she was like, oh, next week, can we just go on holiday? I'd be like, she knows that just isn't something that I want to be doing or be comfortable with. I think I should be in an off season. I think I should be comfortable with doing that, but I wouldn't be. And we would go, and that would probably help me. And it happens every time we go on holiday. If it doesn't quite fit with my schedule, like sometimes I've deloaded the week before and then we're going away, and I'm just like, I can always make it sound like it fits a scenario, like it's an active recovery week, whatever it might be. So I do that with clients. I just need to be better with doing it with myself. And I think having actually a coach through like an off season and them taking you through those periods would probably help me quite a bit, because I could just, they just be like, it's fine, it's a week, like just go and enjoy yourself. And I'd be like, oh, that's all I needed to hear. And I know it, it's just I struggle to do it sometimes. So even with training, like I am very much wanting to get my training in. So if Charlotte wanted to go away on the weekend, but I train on a Saturday, I'd want to try and find a gym or try and find a way to get that in. And I'd say I'm not the most flexible when it comes to that. And it's something I know about myself and I know I need to work on. But something I am fortunate enough, being self-employed, I can get all my training sessions done, even both AM and PM, before Charlotte is back home. So once she's home, her like all the time I have is for her. The unfortunate thing is I go to bed like 10:30. She goes to bed another 2 hours later than that. So the actual time, she doesn't get home till about 8 p.m. So we actually don't get that much time together during the week, which is unfortunate. And then it relies on weekends. So yeah, try and make up for it there. But yeah, it's something I know I need to get better at. But if I say like as advice to other people, be fine with taking like random weeks off in an off season. Like it's totally cool. It's not a problem. Like there's plenty of weeks in the year. It's not going to take away from your progress. But if you can like have some foresight and plan it in deload periods, if you're super serious about it, or around that sort of time. But likewise, it's not a big deal if you have to take a few days off. It's just, I think you guys are probably a bit similar when you are into this, when you're in a routine and you're in like a good flow, it breaks you to try and like not do that. And there's something, like you said, Brett, you realize you don't need to be a bodybuilder doing contest prep when you do diets, and you can have some freedom. I bet it took you a while to get away from that structure. That's why I'm in like the mode I'm in now. I'm calling it like the diet before the diet. It's not prep. I can still be a bit flexible, which still isn't that flexible compared to the average person, but it's much more flexible than if I was like, no, I'm in prep. I have to have like, I don't know, not frozen veg that's mixed. I have to have frozen veg that's like just broccoli or just like cauliflower or something. So yeah, I need to work on it, but I'm getting there, hopefully. Sorry.
Jack, what's your experience been with sort of balancing training and just day-to-day bodybuilding with the relationship?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, not bad. I do find that, again, with Steve, it kind of correlates, that I do find that kind of taking random weeks is a bit hard. However, I do try and plan as much as possible. So, for example, I'm actually going to Venice on it's like the back end of April near my birthday, and it was just kind of a random week that was quite cheap, so we just decided to go, which would it'll actually be like 5 weeks or 4 weeks out from my first show, which is going to be interesting. But I kind of wanted a little bit of kind of that as a challenge, but also as it's booked, then I can kind of structure my mesocycles around it, so it's fairly simple for me because I'm deloading right now. It will just be another 5-week mesocycle and then a deload. So I feel it's really hard to break that cycle. So if you've got like a plan in place, it's very hard. I almost call it like reactive planning. So it's almost like if Nat said, right, let's pack tomorrow and go, it would be very hard for me, but I want to say at some level that would be okay. Again, part of me I think would just break down, but in terms of like holidays and stuff, it hasn't been that bad yet, but I don't know whether it will be in the future. I'm not too sure yet, but it's definitely something that I try and keep very relaxed. And worst case scenario, I would, if something like that happened, like we go on holiday spontaneously, I'm sure the kind of the worst case scenario, I'll just find a gym out there and train. But I don't know if that answers your question at all, but
Yeah, no, for sure. How have you both, either of you, sort of found that auto-regulating rest days within the week have worked for you, or do you tend to be sort of set structured on days of the week we train in? I know sort of Steve, yours is there's not that much room for flexibility anyway, but maybe Jack, what have you sort of implemented that around those periods? Because I know that's something that's worked for me for sure.
So do you just mean just taking like sporadic kind of rest
Yeah,
days?
so say like I allow myself 1 to 2 rest days a week. I might, if I know, so Carrie says she's a nurse, so she'll work shift work, and it could be the days of the week could vary. If I know that she's off on a Wednesday, for example, but I'm due to train, I might choose to just take that Wednesday off as part of that week, because it means I get home from work earlier, and it means I can train when a day where she's at work, or get up earlier on a weekend to go train. So I found that sort of that's worked with regards to sort of spending more time with her, and sort of making that time.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I mean, I have a 5-day split. I'm not actually that worried how I hit them. I just try and hit them. So for the most part, I do hit them, even if it kind of means training on a Sunday. But yeah, let's just say, for example, Nat wants to go shopping and kind of wake up early and go shopping somewhere on the Saturday, then I wouldn't really hesitate in having kind of 5 days in a row, although it's pretty hard. I do find training 5 days in a row to be pretty hard, like for me personally. But I would do that just for that extra day, or I'd have 2 days of rest. So I feel like approaching MRV, it would be pretty hard, like overreaching week. I feel like it would be pretty hard to do 5 days in a row, but it normally always pans out to be kind of week 1 or 2.
Awesome. Yeah, I found that on those said days where like it's a Saturday, and Carrie says maybe like, oh, we're gonna go and or we're gonna go do something at like 10 a.m. that morning. It's actually been times where I'm like, okay, I'm getting up at 6 a.m. to go train before the day starts, and it's like it's not optimal. And it's sort of I'm training fasted. I'm sort of it's not great, but I found that from a mindset perspective, I found it a lot easier to sort of fit in that time and other events by being able to compromise a bit of performance, and even maybe a little bit of recovery in order just to get the work done. Personally, I found in the past that if I didn't do things like that, I would end up just pushing things way back, and it would sort of be like one microcycle might take up like 8 to 9 days, whereas sort of being able to get it in a morning is seems to just work, even though it's not probably optimal, I guess.
Yeah, the only thing that I find quite hard, especially now that obviously I have a full-time job plus online coaching. The only thing that I find that's quite hard or harsh on the relationship, it would be the fact that, I mean, I start work at I leave the house at like 7, maybe 10 to 7. I probably get back at around today I'm on deload, so it's like 6 o'clock, but normally around 7 o'clock. And then from about 7 to about, I'd lie to say if I stopped at 10, but realistically I'm up till probably midnight every night or every day. So that's like in the week, it's very hard to manage kind of time spent with that. But apart from that, not really too much.
That's hard, man.
Mm.
That's hard. I think I've been through times of which I've had that, but I think hopefully it's a case of this is short-term cost or pain in the future you can pull back a little bit. I know people who do, and I used to work like 7 days a week, whereas now I still end up working 7 days a week, but my weekend is very much like it's off and I'm not expected to do work. I often do bits, but now I'm so thankful for having that because I'd be crushed without having some time off.
Yeah, sure. I saw you at over the Christmas break, and you I think I saw you at like I think it was a bank holiday, and you were like, look, like bank holidays are mine, like that I don't take them at all. And I was like, oh shit, like it kind of like the penny dropped, and I was like, wow, like why am I working? I'm pretty much working like 7 days a week, and it's like I'm kind of entitled to some sort of kind of time off. But yeah, it's again, it's something that I need to work on.
We have and yeah, Charlotte always gets annoyed with me with bank holidays because I never think about them. When you're in a like office job, you just get them off, right? So now I have to think about it, and that's when like I train twice a day in a midweek day, and if Charlotte's not working on that day, that's like, oh, what, that puts a spanner in the works. I have to think about. Normally, it's like you said that there, Brett. Get up early. I just combine my sessions, and that's what I've ended up doing. It's pretty challenging in like an overreaching week. It's pretty hellish, and my performance for like the latter half of the session is terrible compared to usual. But it's a short-term cost for like it's better to get that training in somehow.
Yeah, throwing in like 6 down sets of squats.
Oh man,
nasty. So to cap us off, and this is a question to both of you perhaps, and maybe you can both bring different perspectives. What advice would you give to someone out there who's perhaps maybe they are just getting started in a relationship, or even just getting started with or have been in a relationship for a while and are starting their, I guess, bodybuilding journey? What would your advice to them be on how to manage that alongside sort of their relationship as well?
should I start? I don't know how.
You go, Steve.
I'll try.
I'll just say I copy what Steve says.
Don't we all?
Right, let me do it awful. So I would say kind of realize your level and where you're at with things. Because for me, like I'm a competitive natural bodybuilder, so I take it quite seriously. But I have time in the year where I'm more or less serious about it. So when I'm like, for most of the year, it's not super serious. And I mean, if I'm not competing that year, then there's no time I'm really, really that selfish. And then there'd be portions of my like life where I have a true contest prep, probably about 6 months, where Charlotte is not going to be able to we're not going to be able to do as many social things as we normally do, and I'm going to have to be restrictive. But the rest of the time I can be pretty flexible. But if you're not even a competitor and you're just a general kind of gen pop person, and you've got no kind of reason to nail everything, dot every I, cross every T, then like you said, Brett, like there's no deadlines. You can grow muscle slower but for longer. There's no, like, you don't need to try and reach your like maximum potential at a certain time. You have no time limits or restrictions, so enjoy the process. And I don't think you'll enjoy it if you haven't balanced it with your partner in that relationship. So make sure you do that, and be very open to them, and always tell them like if this is getting too much, or I'm doing anything that is kind of upsetting you, or it's just you're just like you don't like it. Just have a really open, honest relationship, because I have heard of relationships end for people who aren't competitors, just because the one person in the relationship takes the gym way too seriously. And I get it, it's addictive. Some people, I'd say I'm addicted to it, I guess, but some people take it very, very far, and it does start taking away from the relationship. But I think if you do it right, it can add, because you get that kind of period of time in your day, you can get like stress out. When you're fit and healthy, like you look better, you feel better. they kind of like that as well. You like that. There's more confidence there. It can kind of help a relationship blossom. So I think there's just a balance, and it's just being very, again, open and honest with one another and knowing what level you're at and where you're at in your year as well. So as a competitor, you also, like Peter Fitchen actually did a post today where he talked about kind of the best competitors, and a lot of them are the ones who aren't those kind of crazy dialed in bodybuilders who are just like obsessed and they say like bodybuilding is their life. It's kind of like, no, they're the ones who it's complements their life. It's kind of part of them. If they were to describe themselves, they would be like, I'm a husband, father. Oh yeah, and I do this bodybuilding thing on the side. It's not like it's all about that, because I think that's a surefire way to burn out. So yeah, that would be my general advice.
Awesome. Jack, anything to add?
Yeah, I think knowing what kind of like level you are you competitive, gen pop, etc. I think that's very important, because you can kind of assess situations very differently. I think that number one thing that I always ask Nat is like like not how am I doing today, but kind of am I being a dick? Especially if you're in a fat loss phase, just kind of, if she says, I mean, she always says yes, but I think she's like, but yeah, I think, yeah.
Just crying wolf. Now it will never work.
Brett, what the fuck? You doing me like that? But yeah, no, like, I think that just being very aware of your actions within the dieting phase is key. Again, it's a very selfish endeavor. However kind of competitive you are at some level, it's a dieting phase is still quite selfish. So just be very aware of her situation. Just be very aware of maybe or his. We're 2020 now, so yeah. Yeah. I think that's probably about it. Just be very aware of your actions. Obviously, in a dieting phase, you do stupid shit.
I think we can end it there then. That's the quote of the podcast. In a dieting phase, you do stupid shit.
Yeah,
So
you do.
awesome. Well,
You dream
Steve,
about pizza and ice cream rather than having sex. So
yeah, and actually,
This is
just to end it right, just on your you mentioned, Jack, around sort of asking Natalie if you're being a dick. I think I found the same. I said to Karis, I'm like, okay, I'm on the dieting phase. I have a mentality of sort of focusing all my thoughts on that and talking about it too much. So I say to Karis, I'm like, okay, if I start talking too much about food or how hungry I am or moaning, then you need to tell me, and I'll nip it in the bud, basically. I don't know if either of you found that, just as a sort of a quick anecdote.
I think I've got so far with it where I've said to Charlotte, like, I'm being really moody and like an asshole, aren't I? And she's like, I haven't noticed anything. I'm almost like hypersensitive to it. I'm like, I can just tell I'm in a mood right now. And she's like, no, I haven't noticed anything. I'm like, okay, I'm just telling you in case, because I feel like I'm gonna it's gonna come out at some point. I'm gonna be annoyed. But I think the thing that gets me the most, unfortunately, is seeing or hearing is the worst. Charlotte eat when I'm not eating, and I'm just like, fuck me, shut the hell up, I hate you. I don't know what it is about hearing other people eat when you're dieted down. It's just hell. You have to be quite deep into a diet. It's not so bad now, but yeah, there has been times where I've been like, Charlotte, just to tell you, and I'm sorry, I have to just tell you and get it off the top of my head, your eating is really annoying me right now. And she's just like, oh great.
How can you eat?
I should probably just leave the room.
Awesome, man. Well, let's call it that. Steve, thank you so much for joining us, being our first guest on the Recreational Bodybuilding podcast.
Awesome, I'm honored.
Yeah, it's do you want to tell the people where we can find you if they don't know already?
So yeah, if people want to find more from me and Revive Stronger, just head to revivestronger.com. We've got the podcast there, some articles, our members site, which you guys are both members of, which is awesome. Love the community and love you guys both being part of that. Got some like ebooks, seminars if we're running them. And then I'm Revive Stronger on Instagram, which is where I'm most active. So if people ever want to reach out, they can do there.
Have you still got tickets left for the seminar?
We have, I think, just under 30 tickets left.
Okay.
So
if you guys are interested in that, then we'll put a link on by the podcast.
Thank you very much.
Then people can go buy that.
and we will both be there as well.
Oh yeah, we'll both be there. Yeah. So
Grant-
if you want to meet us, our one fan can meet us. Our one listener.
I think it's they're going to forget about the actual guests and speakers who are turning up, and it's just going to be cues for yourself and I, Jack. I think it's that's the goal.
One pound to stroke my beard.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys for listening. Thank you, Steve, again, and we will catch you all next time. Bye.